Are we here?
Is this thing on?
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the apes acting apely.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We
Boys
are
and
Mixed
girls.
Apes. You are?
I'm Reed over here, and over there is...
Race.
Hi, Race.
We're back. Hi, Reed. How are you?
I couldn't be better.
You look great.
It's a lovely... Everybody already knows that. They can see us both clearly.
Yes. We are outside again.
Yeah.
It might get a little windy here, but man, it's a beautiful morning.
Yeah. We're worried about the breeze, making that rumbly noise, but we just can't bring ourselves to go inside.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So, man, I got some big-ass news.
Wow. That sounds wrong.
Yes. The people that were talking about the music, let's have the music. Why can't we have the music? Well, we've explained ad nauseum why we can't have the music. But my daughter and one of our most devoted listeners,
Amity of Apes,
who is officially an ape,
certified.
She's got the
bona
paperwork
fide.
now. Yeah,
bona fide.
Yeah, got her bona fides. At any rate, she suggested playlists.
Yeah.
So we looked at it, and
I think we mentioned that a couple episodes ago that she had made the suggestion.
Yes, well, we started doing it, and now every single episode has a playlist associated with it. The links to the playlists are on our website, youshouldknowthissong.com.
Yeah.
Directly in the same space as each episode attached to the episode.
Right.
Also, you can go to youtube.com/@mixedapes with a Z, and there's the whole list right there.
Yeah. Nice. Easy to access. YouTube is the format chosen because everybody can get on there. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have an
account,
membership account,
right.
Whatever. You can get on there and listen to it.
And we know some of you listen on other platforms, and that's all good. It's kind of hard to make a playlist in every platform right now, especially because you don't know who has memberships to
what. Right. You don't know who's on which platform.
All that's BS. We have playlists. We have playlists. Every song that gets specifically mentioned in an episode shows up in that episode's playlist. And
in some instances, a song by an artist that's mentioned, maybe, but at least every song that is specifically named.
Right. In some cases, if we talked about covers, in some cases, there's both versions.
Yeah.
I didn't go as far as, the 5 or 6 version thing, but...
Right. The popular version, the top 1 or maybe 2 covers.
So we are so excited, and... what that means is you don't have to stop listening to the episode to go find the music.
Right.
You can listen to the episode all the way through and then listen to the playlist.
Listen to all the music that you were drooling to stop and listen to midway. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You can grab.
I will caveat one thing here. We tend to wander in our conversations, right? I mean, we go all over the place. And,
right.
And the challenges cover a wide variety of music.
Well, and it's kind of what we have always said we're doing here. We're not sticking with a particular channel, a particular format, era, style, whatever. We're talking about the music that we love to talk about, love to hear, love to listen to from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Rock and roll, blues, some jazz, all of it.
So the playlist might seem a little clumsy with the segues.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. You could easily have Frank Zappa followed by Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
So you be aware. Kind of seems like it's not a real mixed tape.
To me, that's I get it. I follow you. Mixed tape.
That it's not a real mixtape because there's no real flow.
It's not a real mixed tape, but it is real mixed apes. Yes, that's right.
Okay, well that was long
and
silly.
I, for one, I have to say that's how I like. That's how I like my. I'm going to use again the word radio.
Right.
I want to hear stuff that just comes out of left field every other song. I prefer that rather than getting in a mood.
Sure.
And a particular.
And I agree with you in those cases, absolutely.
I like to. Oh yeah, that's cool to hear next. I don't find it.
So
awkward,
at any rate, we're not apologizing for it.
No, we're just preparing you.
We're just preparing you for it.
And
it is who we are and what we do. We jump all over.
And you should like it if you're tuning into this. You should enjoy that. I mean,
and if you hadn't heard me say it already, playlists. We have playlists.
Yeah.
I am so excited.
And
it was so much fun putting them together, and then kind of listening to. I couldn't listen to all of them. Obviously, I haven't had time.
Right.
to just kind of, oh, that's cool, and I didn't expect that.
Right.
You know,
and even going back and remembering from 10 episodes ago, because we're not
the conversation.
Yeah, we're not thinking about those songs right now as much. I mean, sure, 2 or 3 of them pop back into your head,
right.
but what you were thinking about 3 months ago or 4 months ago, you know, you want to. It's the reason we're talking about it is because we love those songs, and then you get, they pop in your head. And I want to make sure, I want to take a minute on my own to make sure and say thank you so much to Amity of Apes for the, pitching in the contribution for helping move that along.
She did about half
dug
of the
in.
episodes. She created the playlist for half the episodes. Thank you, Amity.
Pretty
I love
awesome.
you.
That's pretty awesome. We'll get you a gift certificate to a Mixtapes T-shirt. Or bumper sticker. Your choice. I mean, you can do a bumper sticker too.
Yeah, there's no certificate necessary. We'll just give you one of those because we got plenty of that shit sitting around.
But the gift certificate is a gesture, and we'll fabricate one of those real quick. We'll print one off just for this occasion. So go check out the playlist, and man, give us some feedback. Let us know if you listen to them, please, and if they do what they're supposed to do, and that is just really get your brain going and give you some smiles and some good vibes for the day, for the afternoon, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, a playlist for any given episode is probably averaged 18, 20, 23 songs, something like that.
Well, when we did 1973, remember we did 50 years ago?
Well,
that was
is
episode
different.
6 or 7.
That's kind of an exception, but
I mean, because that one we did the first
100 songs there.
Yeah, well, but we didn't. None of the albums, because when we were talking about 1973, we were talking about the albums, not the songs.
Right.
So I didn't include that. So my notes on that playlist was these 6 songs and everything from 1973.
right.
And of course, you can't add that into the playlist.
Right. You can't put thousands or more.
But yeah, they vary. Some are as high as 28 or 30 songs. Some are 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Depending on how long we ran our mouths about what.
So probably the average playlist
is around
is
15, 18?
Yeah, 18 minutes, 20, 25. So
not minutes, songs.
Oh, songs.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I thought you were hitting on the 7. Anyway, so yes, the average playlist is probably an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably an hour long.
Good call. Yeah.
So
but you don't have to listen to it all at once.
You don't have to listen to it all at once.
The first half on the way to work,
right,
and then the second half on
buzzing
your way
around the
home.
house. Listen to it on the Saturday afternoon while you're running around doing errands. Okay, so is there anything in particular, like you just mentioned the 1973 episode? That was a little bit of an exception episode for us,
right?
And we want to visit that. We've done one other similar to that.
Yeah, that was for the Fabulous Funk Brothers.
Yes,
from Detroit.
Yes.
And we even did a little bit about the Wrecking Crew as well. So we've done a couple of those.
Right.
None of them were as long as that 1973 piece, right?
So is there any other episode, whose playlist stands out in your head as you were doing them? Like, this one was really cool.
Well, honestly, and I'm not patting either one of us on the back, but most of them were really cool.
Yeah.
There were a couple when we talked about covers where you've got both versions of the songs, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
but by and large, I mean, pick one.
Right, they're all all really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't edit anything out because I didn't think that song belonged or anything. Like, if we talked about it and I could find a video of it that was licensed or whatever, it's there.
Right. So, very cool.
Right?
And that question would indicate that I didn't have any real function in getting that huge task accomplished, and that's actually what happened. For what it's worth, the reason I'm asking those questions is because I'm going to go start listening to them. I did not, to this point, have anything to do with compiling them, and I'm super excited about it and super appreciative of the effort, and I just think it's awesome. So,
well, again, thank you, and thank you to Amity. Yeah. She really was instrumental.
Okay, so what's next? Other than we want to remind you guys that we now have playlists. If you want to,
did you mention playlists?
That'll be my new donate to Wikipedia. I'll alternate those two. It'll be, or maybe that could be yours. Every episode you do.
That would require me remembering to do it all the time.
We got playlists.
I'm an old man. All right, so what do you got next, brother?
I got a weird little story that ended up tying into the phone call that you and I had preceding this and sort of preparing us for this episode
segment,
for
whatever.
this
Yeah.
session. A few days prior to the phone call with you, the song, popped into my head, as you do when you're an Apes, and it was the song Midnight Flyer. And when I say Midnight Flyer, for you, Race of Apes, and maybe for a number of you out there, maybe a few songs pop into your head.
Yeah, the first one is Nat King Cole for me.
Okay.
Okay.
And then is there another? Just because this is kind of fun for me.
I think not when you just did this, because now I'm hearing the Nat King Cole song in my head, so I can't.
There you go. And you should know this song works again.
Yeah, nothing else comes to mind immediately. What do you got?
The Eagles had a very sort of bluegrassy song called Midnight Flyer. Mr. Engineer, won't you let your whistle blow?
Yeah, I remember that.
And that song,
train related.
Yes, it was a train, as you would might assume, a train related song. And there are other. I know there are at least a couple other Midnight Flyer songs, right? So I was thinking about that song, and I hadn't heard the Eagles song in a very long time, and I pulled it up and listened to it, and that triggered my brain, whatever's going on in there, to think of another Midnight Flyer song that I also hadn't thought of in a very long time, that I really love, right? And that song is the song Midnight Flyer by a band called Trapeze. You may remember a band called Trapeze.
I have heard of them, yes.
Well, the band called Trapeze was one of my very favorite, like hard rock, a little bit fusion-y, but mostly
I
just...
think you might have actually mentioned them in an episode the last 3 or 4 times we got together.
Yeah,
briefly.
I don't remember bringing this band up in the past, although, my memory.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right.
Just take all the pot shots you want. They're probably accurate. But Trapeze made a song called Midnight Flyer, and part of what struck me is that my brain thought of it or threw it in there after coming up with the thought of this Eagles bluegrassy song.
Yeah.
And that Trapeze song, Midnight Flyer, is
the exact opposite.
One of the most kick-ass rock funk songs ever made, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like I urge you, Race of Apes, and anybody out there, go listen to this song. You're going to listen to it now on the playlist that is going to be created.
Yes.
This song, Midnight Flyer, brought back such a huge rush of memories for me, and I have not thought of it in probably, I have to think, 20 years.
The Trapeze version.
The Trapeze version. I have thought of
and these are not covers of the same song. These are different songs.
These are very different songs with the same name. Like Trapeze didn't do a funk version of the Eagles' Bluegrass Midnight Flyer. That's not what happened. Although, what a cool idea. This song, song Midnight Flyer by Trapeze, I just had to turn it on and I was popping to it for the rest of the afternoon. And I just could not... I was a little bit like guilting myself that I hadn't kept this song in mind better, because it legitimately is just one of the coolest rock funk songs. I mean, I just drool over the song. So
obviously, I can see it running down your face.
It's a 6-minute long song.
Yeah.
So they let the rhythm, they let the funk, they let the hook roll a few times and just enjoy the whole thing. So that got me thinking about the band Trapeze.
And the members.
And the fact that, and a few of their other songs, which I'm not going to mention, but for God's sake, go listen to some Trapeze. They really had, around here at least, for a period of time, early 70s to mid 70s, they had a number of really, really cool, like exceptional rock songs
that were
on the rotation on KSHE around here, KSHE, KADI, and I mean they had some great tunes. So I go looking up Trapeze. I'm looking around. I didn't, at that time when the album that particular song was on dropped, I was like 12.
Yeah.
Right. So I loved the music, and I didn't.
You weren't into who was doing what.
I wasn't really delving into the bands and what the members are and whatever. But it turns out, as I go looking and investigating Trapeze, that among the members in Trapeze is a guy named Glenn Hughes.
Oh man. Oh, you're going to put me on the spot, aren't you?
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Glenn Hughes is a bass player.
He is.
Yes,
And he was in a band called Deep Purple.
yes, Glenn Hughes.
And
was
this
in a
is where
band
I
called
hide
Deep
under the
Purple.
table with my microphone because I have been stomping all over my own feet. And that was edited right there.
Yes, right. Feet.
For, I don't know, 15, 20 episodes now with my stupid reference to the Mark IV Deep Purple band.
Right.
And if you've listened before, you know that there have been a lot of floating members in and out of Deep Purple. And what I know as the core of Deep Purple.
Right.
Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, John Lord, Ian Pace, Richie Blackmore. That's who Deep Purple was when I learned Deep Purple.
Right.
Okay?
That was the configuration.
That was the configuration. And for some reason, the various iterations of the band, whenever the personnel changes, have been labeled for Deep Purple Mark I, Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV, etc.
Right.
And I've been
Like
tossing...
a group of superheroes.
There you go.
Rock and roll superheroes, rightfully,
rightfully
named.
so, yeah.
Right.
And so I've been calling that iteration, those 5 guys, Mark IV, for several months now.
Right.
And
right.
I'm wrong.
You referenced it on the show and that kind of thing.
I am so wrong. I could not be more wrong.
And I let him get away with it because I had zero awareness of this, Mark IV, Mark I, Mark II phenomenon.
And
right.
apparently, nobody that's listened thought it was important enough to. Nobody that listened and knows the difference thought it was important enough to bring to my attention until this last week when I was in the pool with one of my neighbors who listens to the show, and he kind of, hey, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. And I'm going to shake your hand and make a bet right now. And then I walked over to my phone, and within 6 seconds, I found that I was wrong.
Damn you, Google.
Yes.
Damn you, Google.
So that iteration.
The Mark IV iteration.
No, that iteration, those 5 guys.
Oh, those 5 guys, I see.
Is actually the Mark II iteration.
Ah,
and there are 10 at this point.
10.
And Deep Purple just dropped an album.
Yeah, they just put a new album out.
The third song dropped this week.
Right.
So that tells you when this was recorded.
Right.
I just blew a trade secret.
You'll know when this show was
Lazy
actually.
Sod is the name of that current song.
Yeah.
So
And by the way, it's a good. If you haven't listened, I don't know if you have listened to any of it, but I listened to a couple of tracks.
It's good.
They're doing a good job.
There are people saying, I've read some reviews, and I haven't listened to anything. I've read some reviews, and I've heard their best work in this century.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's good. A lot. I think it's their 22nd studio album, 23rd, something like that.
Right.
But the Mark IV lineup that I have been misnaming all along included John Lord, Ian Pace, Glenn Hughes.
There you go.
David Coverdale.
Yeah.
And Tommy Bolin.
Yeah.
And that's a 1 album off.
Right.
It's the only album that group of guys
that
did.
Assembly.
Because Tommy Bolin died shortly thereafter.
Right.
At the ripe young age of 25, and what a talent
Miserable.
he was.
Right. Awful.
But yeah, so I'm an idiot. Playlists, I'm an idiot. Mark IV is not Mark IV. The reference that I've been making as Mark IV all along is actually the Mark II. And I mean, I'm not going to actually go through all of them.
Right.
By the way, Mark III was Glenn Hughes and David Coverdale were new in the band, but the guitarist was still Blackmore, and Pace and Lord were there.
Right.
That was the in-between. That was Stormbringer and one other one I can't think off the top of my head. And that's I love that period as well, you know what I'm saying?
Sure, right.
But the thing is, I'm an idiot. Just
Blackmore was in there.
In case you didn't know that.
Right.
I'm an idiot.
Well, I think the thing
is, I've been so damned adamant about it. That's the thing. It's not that I made the mistake. It's that I reinforced the mistake. And even when he told me I was wrong, I was like, there's no way.
And then you were defiant, 100%
yes, I was an ignorant ass. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But this is, again, I'm saying, hey, if you know some shit, you catch us in some mistakes, let us know, man. We want to know.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to look wrong all the time.
Yeah, I would rather be corrected, even if I'm a little, embarrassed of myself.
Sure.
And Lord knows we get into enough.
John Lord knows.
John Lord may know. I mean, for all I know, it's possible. We get into enough off the cuff sort of rambling where, a subject pops up and something that
kind of thing.
Something that you quote know unquote according to what you and the guys or girls or both you were hanging out with 40 years ago traded stories about these
Right.
acts is what you understand to be the case, and you haven't followed up on
If
that
you
in
remember,
40 years.
one of the things that prompted this entire enterprise
Mm-hmm.
was me being wrong about the lyrics to a Montrose song that I've been singing wrong for since
right,
1974.
Right.
Okay, and you called me on it, and this was maybe 18 months ago and I'm like, no, there's no way.
Right.
Exact same thing. You're absolutely wrong.
Right.
That's I've been
Right,
it.
and
Yeah.
you're a huge Montrose fan.
Yes,
Yeah, as
exactly,
we know
exactly.
from the show, if not.
And don't count on me to be right.
And I certainly have my share of gaffes and things that I'm like, oh, I said that. I put that right out there without researching it on the spot. Part of the difficulty is, the show rolls. I
Right.
mean, we roll, so we
Right.
don't really take the time or have the time, arguably,
during the show
to stop and go, to even think about the fact that we just said something.
It's the production assistant. It's not doing his job.
We just said something that needs to be qualified.
Right.
We're saying it because we think we understand that to be the case. And then you find out it would be better if we found out through people chiming in the comments saying, hey, wait a minute over there.
Well, Ian did that early on. My son Ian did that early on.
With a
reference to Sublime.
Sublime, correct.
Yes.
And I had referenced the wrong time frame
by 10
for
years.
their
Yeah,
by 10 years for their
the
activity.
guy had already been dead for 10 years by the time you thought it was. I think it was.
Related to my bringing up Glenn Hughes from Trapeze,
and my stupidity.
I was only bringing it up because because this is one of those. We've always said we would love to be able to do a connections type show, and I think to an extent we accomplished that in bits and pieces. It would be better if there was really a way to assemble a connections type episode, and that, to me, I could listen to that for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If it's as interesting as the guy who used to do connections.
Sure.
What was his name? You're not going to get it right off the bat. I shouldn't ask that. We'll bring it up.
It was a PBS show in the 60s and 70s.
60s and 70s, yeah.
Yes.
And
Alan,
the guy was a professor, and
Burke comes to mind. You keep talking.
Burke. Burke.
I'm going to find out while you're talking.
And I think it is Alan Burke. Anyway, maybe it's John. He did. I just wish somebody would. James Burke. I wish somebody would duplicate that show. We both have said we wish somebody would duplicate that show because it is just really. It still stands.
Yeah.
Still stands on its own.
And it's kind of the same thought process behind kind of what we do a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In a lot of our episodes, we end up threading some things together like this, and this is a good example. I was thinking of that, and then and reading about Glenn Hughes, and one of the things that Glenn Hughes talked about in an interview I read when I was researching Trapeze was how he broke from Trapeze on the second offer from Deep Purple to come and play in the band, and then after playing that stint with Deep Purple that he did, he realized he regretted leaving Trapeze, and he stated as much in a couple interviews and quotes, because Trapeze had found its footing, and he feels like he left them at the time that they really were about to break. They were receiving critical acclaim. They were getting really well attended at their concerts.
Sure.
They had attained a following of slightly younger audience, like a next generation audience.
Sure.
And it didn't occur to him because Deep Purple had such a cachet. He didn't really think about that until after he did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he voiced his regret about that. Anyway, him mentioning going to Deep Purple, and then the next day you call, we talk about it, and you're on about the Deep Purple thing, and the Mark IV, Mark I thing, and I was like, this is a great thread. This is kind of a cool.
Well, I want to thank you for throwing me under the bus there, and which is not.
It's not all about you.
Well, maybe over there it's not.
Right.
On this side of the table, it's all about me. But yeah, you didn't really throw me under the bus. I wanted to get it out there, but I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
By the way, he just sprung that on me, like that little thing about the trapeze thing. That was
right.
That wasn't
he did not know that I had had those thoughts. I didn't tell him about those when we were on the phone. It just it was clicking in my head in the background. I was like, this is going to work out cool. So If you haven't gotten the impression, I don't think we mentioned this at the front of the episode that we yes
we have playlists for every episode.
Oh, that's one of two things I was going to say, as it turns out. Yes, we have playlists now, and they're great. Every one of them is just a jam session.
Said the guy who hasn't listened to any of them yet.
I'm confident in our taste. I was going to say, if we hadn't mentioned it from the outset, are not doing any challenges this episode. We're talking through.
Yeah, I think we're going to kind of argue that right here. Actually, I had an experience this week.
Oh, you're going to spring one on me.
We kind of talked about
it. Oh, no, I
guess
we did touch it.
Yeah, I was out driving around for work, as I do, going client to client.
Right.
And I had the satellite streams on in the car. And I got really, really fortunate. Earl Bailey, who does deep tracks on Sirius XM and does other stuff as well. And he's a great DJ. He really is a knowledgeable guy about just hordes and hordes of the kind of shit that you and I love. The little pieces, tidbits, and all of that. And he was rolling. And he had 4 or 5 songs in a row, I think 3 of which I had not heard before. I hadn't heard at all.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
By artists that I know and should have been in my wheelhouse. So I have some challenges for you, specific to these 4 or 5 songs, and there's a reason for each of them.
Right.
And we're not going to exchange challenges, okay?
This is just you, which is the part of you springing it on me, because you didn't mention you were going to do that.
I didn't. Yeah, so that's the deal. And I want to fully give credit to getting that from Earl Bailey.
Earl Bailey on what's the station?
It's Sirius XM, and he's on several, but he does deep tracks. I see. Is one of his kind of deals. He actually does a thing called Head Trips, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
And he songs that have something in common. They have a word in common or the reference to something in common, and that's kind of cool. That's a
little bit our
absolutely. So
game. Does anybody ever ask him to come home? Earl Bailey.
You mean Bill's
brother? Mistake him for Bill, and
I have no idea, and I'm going to pretend you didn't say that. So I have some challenges for you.
Please.
And by the way, the one thing that makes these songs all universal, ties them all together, is you should know these songs. Not as in you should remember these songs or you should be familiar with them. But if you love the kind of music that we love, this stuff needs to be in what you're listening to.
Yeah, you should get to know these songs if you don't know
That's better
them.
said. You should get to know these songs. These next 4 or 5.
That's the name of the segment we do from now on when we're telling people about this kind of thing.
There you go. Thank you for the production
songs.
Assistant. Wake him up. He'll make a note.
You should get to know these songs.
Here's one for you. You should know this version of this song.
Okay.
When I get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide.
No.
Where I stop and I turn and I go for a ride.
That sounds super familiar.
You know that. You know those lyrics. Okay?
Is it an old song?
Yes. 1968.
Oh, is it it's not That's Life.
No, it's the Beatles. And Helter Skelter.
Oh.
Okay, so that's a song pretty much I'm assuming that most of our followers are familiar with.
Right.
However, there is a version called First Version Take 2.
Yeah.
Okay? That I heard yesterday, or earlier this week rather, for the first time ever hearing it. It is close on 10 minutes long.
Right.
It is a completely different song than the song you know as Helter Skelter. The words are the same.
That's going to be fun to put on the playlist.
Not necessarily all in the same order, but the words are the same.
Right.
This version is it's way slower.
Really?
It's not frenetic at all. Paul McCartney sings a phenomenal, like really intense, heavy version. It's very dark and bluesy almost, but very powerful rock and roll.
I want to play it right now.
Unfortunately, that's against the rules. Here's the thought that popped in my head, okay? And this is lame bullshit. But my thought was, if Charlie Manson had heard this version, Sharon Tate would not have died.
Right.
And then the truth is, there was other stuff going on that had nothing to do with it, right? And we're not blaming
the song for any of that nonsense.
But that's in the popular consciousness,
right?
Right. It's not the frenetic, intense, fast-paced. What the hell is going
on
here?
Heavy rockin', yeah.
It's other than fast-paced. It's not frenetic. It's intense and heavy.
Right.
It's just a different intense and heavy.
The Helter Skelter I know is like a jam. You know what I mean? It's
No, 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 no,
right.
no.
It's got a good
Yeah.
rhythm. You can bounce to it, all that stuff. Right.
Yeah, this is not that.
Right.
At all. There's that one. That's
Okay.
one of the ones
I missed one.
Okay.
I suspect I'm going to miss all of these.
I suspect that's entirely possible. Well, we don't. Now, this one I'd actually heard before, but it's something that I hadn't heard in 20 plus years.
Right.
This one you might actually know. Well, we don't understand why you called in the National Guard.
That sounds very familiar.
When Uncle Sam is the one who belongs in the exercise yard.
Oh, I totally know this song.
Yes, you do.
I totally know this song. I have not heard it in a long time.
Here's another set of lyrics from this song that the article I read about it, the one member of the band said, here's the lyrics I tossed in. Well, we all got balls and brains, but some's got balls and chains.
Damn. I don't know it. I mean, I'm not.
It's not coming to mind.
Yeah.
It's 10 cc's.
Yeah.
Rubber bullets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was just like a month and a half ago, I was just looking that song up.
Really?
I swear.
I hadn't thought of that song since
Load
before
up,
I've known
load
you.
up your rubber bullets. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I do. I knew I knew that song.
So, that's 10 cc's Rubber Bullets, written by Lal Cream, Kevin Godley, and Graham Goldman. And by the way, the props on the previous song are Lennon and McCartney, in case anyone didn't know that.
Yeah.
1968
Right,
off
if
the
that
White
wasn't
Album,
obvious.
right? This is from 1973. It was a self-titled debut album. It was just called 10
Right,
cc.
10 cc, which I believe was had 3 radio songs off of it or something. It was a pretty good album for them.
I'll have to defer to you on that.
Yeah.
I don't know that. So the BBC thought it was about ongoing Northern Ireland conflicts at the time, which was a big deal in the 70s,
Yeah.
and talked about banning the song.
Oh, I see.
But they didn't until the Gulf War, because it's an anti-government song, if you will.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But it was actually about American prison riots, like at Attica.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The theme of the song starts off, there was a dance at the local county jail.
Yes.
Right? So at any rate,
Kind of like
There's at any rate
Warden
again.
threw a party at the county jail.
Yeah. Very, very cool, kind of politically aware, 1973, and it was on the radio quite a bit. It was
Yeah,
a
that
rocker.
song was played around here.
And I
for
thought you
sure.
might get that one.
Yeah, I should have. I should have gotten that one.
And then another one that I'd never heard before by someone I should know. Here's a clue for you. You ready?
Yes.
We hold the truth self-evident. The photograph of the president is the first line. That's
We
not the
hold the truth
Yeah,
self-evident.
it's not the first line of the song. It's the first line of the challenge.
First line of the challenge.
Right.
Again, it sounds super familiar, but nothing's coming to mind. What's
Second
next?
line, from Air Force One, he viewed the devastation, shaved face, rested eyes.
No.
So this is called Where Were You? And it's about
Yeah.
Katrina and the government's lack of response
right.
to Katrina
In action, right?
in action. From Jackson Browne.
Oh, okay.
Also, 8 or 9 minutes long.
Right.
Also, really, really good rockin', like kind of the most rockin' I ever remember hearing Jackson Browne.
Really?
Straight rock and roll
Right.
from Jackson Browne. You know, he's more of a singer-songwriter kind
Yeah,
of a guy
yeah.
most of the time. That's not to say he doesn't rock, but this one
Most of what you're familiar with
is less
from-
rocky.
Right.
You know, this is actually a rock and roll tune. Dark and somber.
Right.
2008, the album was called Time the Conqueror. He's got a full-blown gray beard and gray hair on it.
Yeah.
I think that's a reference to the song. A couple of things that I found out about it, though. The thing that attracted me when I was listening to the song mostly was the lyrics. Not the lyrics, the vocals.
Right.
Jackson Browne singing, and there's another guy singing behind him, and he's not always singing in sync, and he's not always singing the same lyrics.
Huh.
It's almost an undertone, I guess is the word I was
Right.
looking for.
Right.
Okay? And he's one of the members of the band, Jeff Young.
But it's offset, and you can understand the lyrics behind him.
Yes. And I was like, who is that guy? Do I know that voice? Because it sounds great.
Right.
But I
right.
couldn't place the voice, and I wouldn't have had I known and I had
Sure,
his name.
sure.
I'm not familiar with Jeff Young as a vocalist. He in this particular iteration of Jackson Browne's band,
Right.
one of his jobs, he's the second singer. Written by Brown, as in Jackson,
Yeah.
Goldenberg, Luack, McCormick, and Young, as in Jeff Young. Again,
Yeah.
something I'd never heard before.
Right. I don't think
8
I've
or
ever
9
heard that
minutes
song.
long. Again, politically sensitive,
Right.
but very like heavy and dark and just really well done. It's like, how do I not know this?
Right. Why
Was what I was-
haven't we heard this song?
Right.
Yeah.
So again, that's kind of where I was going with these. Is it's like, man, this is stuff that should be on everybody's radar.
Right. The sort of sad thing about a true artist songwriter is I can just imagine how great the song is because Jackson Browne,
Yeah,
he
he's
is
Jackson
a
Browne.
great
Yeah.
songwriter.
And has done lots of great stuff with other artists,
Lots of
and
great
people
stuff.
we know, and
But if it doesn't have a certain, sound, if it's not at a certain point
it's
in
9
musical
minutes
time,
long. It's got
9
a
minutes
lot
long.
of lyrics. I mean,
Right.
it's a lot of lyrics. It's 6 or 7 paragraphs of lyrics.
right,
It's not FM radio friendly.
right. It may have been on the radio in the 70s.
80s? No, 2008 is when it came out.
No, I'm saying if it were released in the 70s, it may have been
Yes,
on real rock
Yeah, because it was a
rock
kind of a
radio where
thing
they were
then,
playing
right?
8-minute long progressive rock songs and
Right,
things
exactly.
like that, and full
Album
activist
size.
songs and
Yes,
that kind of
yes,
thing. Yeah.
absolutely. But again, if you don't know this song, listen to this playlist.
You're
going to
be listening to it on the playlist.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
you need to hear this song.
Right.
Now that's kind of the thing is several of these songs that I've got are long songs, like 10-minute song, 9-minute song, 7-minute song.
Right.
Okay, it's going to be an interesting playlist at the very least.
Well, we haven't talked about too many songs
No.
prior to, so
Right. So it'll be a longer one, but with less songs.
Right.
I've got another one here. I've actually got a couple. This one is a song I know, but that I haven't heard in quite some time. That is off an album where it's one of those albums where literally, top to bottom, it's a great album. It's one of those we've talked about this album before. But here's your clues. You ready?
okay, hit me.
These are starting lines. Can't get no sleeves for my records.
So this song is definitely a little older.
Based on records reference,
Yeah, sleeves from my records.
1985.
Huh. Okay, what's next?
Can't get no laces for my shoes.
Nope. I want to say it's familiar again,
Can't
but
get no fancy notes from my blue guitar.
oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
Can't get no
Get
antidote for the
fancy
blues.
notes from my blue guitar. That line.
That's actually how he sings it, the way you just said it.
Yeah, I can hear the rhythm of that line in particular, and now it's making me hear the rhythm of the line before that, the phrasing. I can't get a melody in my head.
You ready?
Can't get no fancy notes from my blue guitar.
Right.
Can't get no antidote for blues. I'm not getting a melody.
Okay, it's Dire Straits.
Yeah.
Off of Brothers in Arms, which is a phenomenal album, and we've talked about songs from there before.
Yeah.
And it's called One World.
Yeah.
And he's talking about
There it is.
how broken shit is. That's what the theme of the song is. And he's using the
Right.
initial references about laces for shoes is really not what he's talking about. He's talking about
No. Just
how nothing seems to be working in the world right now.
right. Just
Okay?
the
Hence the name One World.
right.
And I think one of the lyrics that brings it around is, and if we can't find a way to be one world in harmony,
Right.
that's
right.
later in the song. So the thing is, we keep coming back to this album,
Yeah, we
right?
do, don't we?
I mean,
We've mentioned this album
and we haven't mentioned this song
10
before,
times.
I don't think.
No.
I mean, it seems to be a different song every time because
Right.
there's a bunch of great songs. I don't
Absolutely.
think there's any bad songs on this album. I don't think there's a song to skip on this album.
Right.
And the other thing is the lyrics, they really still resound today. They're very timely.
Yeah.
Many of you, I'm sure, may know this song, may be familiar with it, but go back and listen to it because it's good shit.
Yeah.
It's well written. It's very well performed. Production
Got a great
Production
message.
is amazing, and it's got a great message.
Right. Great lyrics, Mark Knopfler, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And he was the writer, by the way, and it was 1985 is when it came out.
That just triggered the song "One World" by the Police for me, also.
Also, not a bad song.
Yeah. Similar message.
Yes. All right, so I have probably one more here for you.
Yeah, please.
And this one, I want to take a little time on. I actually want to pull up the lyrics and maybe take a look at them and
Sure.
talk about it. And this is a starting line.
Okay.
Okay. As I was driving home along the boulevard late one night,
Okay.
I saw a guy in the corner bumming all alone.
So I was driving home along the boulevard late one night. I saw a guy in the corner bumming all alone. No.
Okay, and I had never heard this one before
No.
by any of the artists that I'm about to mention. Okay,
So it's been covered.
it's been covered once that I'm aware of.
Oh, I see.
Okay, it's called Cops and Robbers.
That name doesn't ring a bell.
Okay, and it was written by a guy named Kent Harris, who also wrote songs for the Coasters.
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking a long time ago.
Yeah, old.
Okay, 1950s, right?
Okay.
Was the same year he wrote it. It was released by Bo Diddley 1956, and it got a little play. Again, it's
Sure.
kind of a long song, lots of lyrics, very bluesy, right?
Right.
The version that I heard was by the Rolling Stones,
Not surprisingly.
but it's from 1964, okay?
Okay.
When the Rolling Stones was largely a blues band.
When they were playing Bo Diddley's songs,
Right.
and
Okay.
and we've covered that ground before about a lot of the certainly British invasion bands starting off just playing blues
Playing blues.
covers.
So, it's a pretty long song, and I couldn't find where I found it that it came from was an album called On Air.
Okay.
Okay, very early Stones release, and I don't know if it was even released here.
Sure.
Okay, but it's actually recordings from a BBC radio show that they did.
Oh, I see.
It's an exceptional representation of early Stones blues.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
you're a Stones fan, and I'm not a huge Stones fan, I mean, I like them, but I'm not a...
Right.
There are lots of folks that are way more into them than I am that may even know the song, but, like, it really, really rocks the blues.
They did the blues.
They really nail it, and it almost sounds like Jagger might be even doing it in a character.
Oh,
You know
I
what
see,
I'm
I
saying?
see. Yeah.
His enunciation and so forth and so on, like he's trying to sound a certain way.
Right.
And he fucking nails it.
Cool.
Okay, it's very, very cool.
Very cool.
Very, very bluesy Stones, man. And again, this is one of those that it's several minutes long. It's something that should have been on my radar. That's kind of what all of these are about.
Right.
I should have really known these songs.
Should have heard this
should
song.
have been involved in hearing these
Right.
songs earlier on.
Right.
And I didn't. So that's
And,
another one. And I'm gonna.
And
go
the
ahead.
Stones, along with, and again, we have touched on this, along with a number of other bands coming at that time who ended up being big,
huge.
bands, huge. They were doing the blues justice. I mean, they were playing the blues because the blues they were playing, Bo Diddley, Muddy Waters, blah blah blah, were fantastic music.
Right.
You know, and they were doing a great job
Of representing that.
their iteration of those
Yes.
songs.
In some cases, they didn't necessarily. Those artists, not Stones, didn't necessarily credit.
Right, they didn't
the
necessarily
original
give
artists.
adequate credit to the
Right.
right.
But that's a different conversation that we've already
Correct.
had.
But there a lot the blues on a lot of those albums, you know, the iterations of those songs by those artists that ended up being huge artists.
Right.
And maybe the same for some that didn't end up being huge artists, but the Who, Led Zeppelin, that whole roll of things, their iterations of those songs are awesome. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Yardbirds, etc. Mm-hmm. Same kind of thing. The song is, besides the chorus, there's 6 or 7 stanzas.
Right.
Okay? The story of the song, which is kind of what made it so interesting to me, besides the fact that it sounded so good,
Right.
was this guy's driving down the road. He sees somebody on the side of the road that yells out, "Hey, you going my way?" And the guy looks kind of down and out. So the guy says, "Sure," and he pulls over and gets him. And the guy pulls out a gun and says, "Okay, I'm on the run from the cops. You're going to do what I say. And if they get too close, you're the first one going."
Right.
And this is what's happening. And the guy keeps, the protagonist, the driver, keeps going, and he says this several times, "Sir, I don't understand."
Right.
You know what I mean? And,
I didn't do anything
and,
here.
and it goes on through a robbery and cops and robbers chasing him and all that.
Right.
I'm not going to read the lyrics, but the guy keeps referencing, "I got a stopper in my hand." He's talking about a gun, right?
Right.
It's just a really cool tune that, as a song completely, I was unaware of. As a cover by the Stones,
Right.
I was certainly unaware of. I haven't gone back and listened to the Bo Diddley version, but I listened to the entirety of the Stones version. Just going like, man, this is so damn cool, you know?
Right.
So I wanted to get that in front of you and in front of the listeners.
Out to the
it's
masses.
another one that you need to come to know this song.
Right. You should take the time, stop,
Right.
listen to
Absolutely.
the song. When the playlist comes out, listen to it all the way through so you make sure you hear
Yeah.
this song.
And it's going to be 6, 7 songs on the playlist, but they're all
Right. Each of them's 7-8 minutes, right?
right. Exactly. So those are the ones that I prepared for this particular deal.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Good to hear.
And I think the only thing that I have left to say on this is sometimes I hear a song and I want to share it with you or my sister or somebody else, and I hold on to it.
Oh, I do that
Because there's
constantly.
there's a clue. I'm going to use this. I got a
yeah,
story
yeah,
to go with this.
yeah.
Here's a cool little piece of info that
tick
I
tock,
want
tick
to.
tock, tick tock. Yeah.
And it ends up in the list, when I get to it, the excitement or the interest or the thing that really brought me to wanting to share the song in the first place is not there.
Has faded.
It's faded some, right?
Right, right.
So
you don't quite have the enthusiasm, and you're not thinking maybe of all the threads
of all
that
the threads.
tie into it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I had to make a note for each of the threads in this one so that I would,
Right.
And I'm sure there's a couple of things that I missed that I wanted to share about
Sure.
those songs.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of want to say, hold on, stop. We're not doing the regular thing.
Right.
You need to know about these songs.
I need to get some of these out there.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe that's more accurate. Is I need to share some of these songs.
Right.
So if that comes up, I guess where I was going when I started saying sometimes I hold them back is sometimes I don't want to hold them back.
Right.
And oftentimes I find myself not sharing music with you that I know you want to hear because I'm saving it.
Saving it for the
I'm
show
not doing that
for
anymore.
another episode.
I'm not doing
Right.
that anymore.
Right.
If it hits me and it's like, you should listen to the song, I'm going to send you the song.
Right. Well, and I had the thought when we were on the phone and you were talking about this in that regard. I too have, as I've mentioned before, I just have such an enormous list of songs for the show compiled.
Right.
That
not necessarily settled into this is for this challenge or that. Just these songs are ideas.
Right. This song popped into my head and it would be great for the show. This song popped in my head, it'd be great for the show. I'm not trying to impress anybody by saying it. I'm saying it to make the point. Literally several hundred.
Right.
And at the pace of the show, which is 20 songs every episode.
Pretty much.
Well, I think of 65 songs a week. So the list is years ahead of getting to it.
Yeah.
So there may be some validity. And this really kind of hit home when I was putting together, and maybe this is the most available means of getting the damn list out there rather than, having 1,000 songs left after I die.
Right.
The thought of starting lines is, to me, is the most available and the most entertaining or amusing or fun or whichever word you want to put in there. If we were to do something that just rattled them off, maybe not take a 20 or 25 minute, delve into all of them thing.
Sure.
But if you have, some songs compiled, even if it's 5, if it's 10,
right,
to be able to do, I was looking at my list that I have dedicated to starting lines, and I was like, to me, the thought of just sitting there and saying the line and letting it hang for a second, and then saying the line from the next song, I know those first lines will trigger 90% of people listening. They'll be like, yeah, I know that song.
And it may be 3 songs later before the first one kicks in.
Before it kicks in, but you know it. You know what I
Right.
mean? That starting line definitely triggers the song. They're well-known enough songs.
Right.
And you still hear them walking around Walmart, and you still hear, you know what I mean? They're still all over the place. If they're 30, 40 years old, they're still all over the place.
Right.
That those first few words, 5, 10, you'll get them.
Sure.
And that to me is just a fun thought. You know what I mean?
So if you have thoughts about that, if you think that's something that you'd enjoy,
let
us know.
We'd like to know.
We'd like to get comments from other than the 2 or 3 people that regularly comment.
Or just
but
the two of us.
Any feedback.
Right. No short to the 2 or 3 people who regularly comment.
No, absolutely.
We'll keep taking your comments too.
Yeah, we love them. They're apes.
Yes, those are official
our apes,
certified
right?
apes.
Yeah. Are they grade A?
Oh, yes, of course.
I'd say, of course, they
certified grade A,
Yeah.
maybe double A.
Yeah, I don't know that
Apes.
we qualify for grade A apes, but I know
certifiable.
Absolutely.
Certifiable for sure.
No question about
Yeah.
that. Okay, so I'm done with my little special experiment.
Yeah, that was all fun meandering and wandering around, and I just have one thing that I don't know if we brought up yet, but do we want to talk about playlists?
I heard that the mixed apes that do You Should Know This Song, I heard they've got playlists
They've got
now.
playlists, yes, mixtapes at www.youshouldknowthissong.com
And
at
under the APEisodes.
right
tab.
under the episodes tab
right.
on the website,
And
as well
also
as on YouTube.
As well as on YouTube at youtube.com/@mixedapes with a Z.
Right. You can hear the playlist and entertain and enjoy, real legitimate, what would you call this? Curated.
Oh, there
It's
you go.
Curated stuff.
Certifiable comes back to mind.
Bespoke. It's bespoke.
So the cool thing about it, though, about the playlist, since you happen to bring them up, is You don't have to listen to the episode again.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You can,
just get to the music, baby.
Get to the music. So you can go. I was in the pool last night with some friends, and I just started up playlist 1. Off the first episode.
Right.
And I enjoyed the hell out of it. I can't speak to anybody else.
Great in the background. If you didn't say what it was, they didn't have any reason not to enjoy it.
All right, my brother.
Okay.
Are we wrapping up here? Thanks
for listening. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for taking the time out of your day, your life, whatever. And hopefully it was, triggering. Hopefully this whole thing is triggering for everybody who listens to it.
In a good way.
Yes, in the best way. Go listen to, go seek out, go experience, go enjoy the stuff that we're talking about. Check it out for yourself. Get into the nitty gritty of it.
And hey, go listen to those new songs from Deep Purple.
Oh, yeah. Check out the Deep Purple album.
That's cool
sure.
shit. It really is.
Yeah. This has been
You Should Know This Song.
Yes, which, if you didn't know, is our podcast about, well, in this instance, it's about just droning on about rock and roll and related stuff.
Yes, and our comments on same.
Comments, yes.
Brought to you by the mixtapes from...
From Race's Oasis in beautiful downtown Wentzville. Are we downtown?
No, we are definitely not.
We'd be sitting on a concrete corner, a sidewalk or something if we were downtown. Hey, we're outdoors. We got hopefully we got a couple more months of being outdoors, enjoying the outside. So enjoy the sounds and the sights
and the wind noises.
The wind noises with us.
Can't thank you enough for listening.
Back in. Come back and check it out. Subscribe, like, share,
and listen to the playlist.
Listen to the playlist. Follow, chime in, get involved, baby.
Comment.
Get involved.
Yes, you are apes. We are apes. We are out.
We're out. Peace. See ya.